Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Kakegurui episode... I think we're at 5. Let me just check. Yeah, we're at 5. Episode 5. Guys, apologies for the late... Actually, no. I usually upload Kakegurui on Mondays. So that sometimes happens. Okay, yeah. But again, sorry. Delays. I'm so sorry. I've taken on way too many projects and it's slowing me down all around. I have to figure out a better way to prioritize this. Anyway, Kakegurui doesn't have any problems with its tempo or pacing. It's just going on. So guys, let's talk about the episode 5. So this is the first two-parter we've had for the episodes of Kakegurui, and so we just jumped right into it. I really enjoyed that we hit the ground running the moment we got into this episode. So in that, it kind of sets up the pacing for the rest of the episode, because once we get into the episode, it's just largely a high-level bluffing game. It's a high-level, high-tempo game. We're just going through, we're just whizzing through. Things are being said, characters are getting annihilated, characters are getting frustrated, characters are shutting down the rules. Overall, it's a relatively high-tempo episode of Kakegurui. That's cool. You know, it's pretty awesome because Kakegurui doesn't make any assumptions of the, I guess, the viewer's ability to comprehend what's going on, right? Like, Kakegurui assumes the viewers are relatively smart and can remember what happened in the last episode, so much so that we just jump into the episode with very little segue. At least that's the illusion it gives, just because of the pacing of how quickly we just get going in this episode. Overall, when it comes to the tempo and the pacing of the episode, I think Kakegurui did really nail it for this one, especially because to some degree in this episode, when you look at it, there is still the threat of Jabami getting into a worse situation, but the girls have such bravado and such confidence in general that it doesn't really faze the viewer, you know? Especially when you consider that in terms of the beats of the episode, the girls are constantly one-upping this guy. So much so that the only real part of interest in the episode is when Jabami is willfully kind of engaging in dangerous behavior, when she's goading on the girl to go and do or just act against her current master, and I say that in quotations. So, you know, there's an illusion of threat, but it's ultimately one of Jabami's own doing, and it just ends up being a very competent, very solid episode. I really enjoyed the overall pacing for it. So that's the episode on a technical level to some degree. If we were to talk about where we start and where we end in this episode, we start with the girls in the middle of the game. We end off with the girls winning the game to some degree. This was one of the better kind of victories that the girls could have come out with, and we have a friendship blossoming between Mari and Jabami. How could you not enjoy that? I absolutely love their interactions at the end of the episode. That really made it for me. And Mari's overall commentary on Suzui and just how he's a kind and honest to a fault, you know, I like it. I like that she accepts that because, you know, now this is just a competent duo. We have a group of characters that work well together. I'm happy. And Mari, I'm really happy that we have her as a main character, that she is a villain turned good, or like, you know, relatively good. I like that we have that because I do like Mari's character, and she's a bit more in your face than Jabami is. Like, Jabami goes crazy at the end when she's like really hopped up on the thrill, but Mari's just a jerk like from the beginning. So I like that we have her on our side because it's just gonna make things funnier, right? She's a very entertaining character, and I'm very happy that we got her at the end. Now, if you were to look in the little bits of the episode, what did we really get? Well, the jerk goes down, he loses, the villain loses, he gets stunned at the end of the episode, and that was pretty awesome. So when you look at him and you see what's going on, this was just largely a episode of just joy for the viewer, because now you're seeing this guy who you want to see taken down a peg, getting his just desserts and then some. You see him just lose control. The faces in Kakegurui just kind of make it better because you look at him, he looks so stupid. You feel good going through this episode and seeing that the girls have the upper end the whole time. And, you know, when they do their little declaration swap, their pose when they're doing that is also like very stylish. You know, you have the contrast of this giant oaf versus the girls who are just pulling it off at every possible moment that they can pull it off. And speaking of that, I did appreciate that this episode did focus on the rules and how you can abuse the rules. That was a very cool thing, and as we find out, it is one of the most important aspects of the episode. Anyway, I enjoy it. Overall, that was, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool episode. It's a pretty cool maneuver. It's cool that the girls are competent. As we know, Jabami is competent, but it's cool to see that Mari is still competent as well. Now, let's see. There are maybe 2 plot points that I can think of right now, and then a third, which is just more of a setup for the student council. But 2 plot points that I think are worthy of talking about. The first one, let's see how we're going to structure this. Let's talk about the girl that was made human again. I can't remember her name, the poor thing. But we know the girl. Let's call her the girl that got her haircut. First off, I think that's just despicable, man. That's just mean. How could you do such a mean thing? And it's just like this mentality of these people are less than human. On some degree, I respect that the student council was able to just create that dynamic so easily, without struggle, that so many people were just able to adapt to it. There is something similar that's happened in the real world. I think it was the Stanford prison experiments. Just how malleable people's minds are to a certain environment and how they can just really fall into the pace of that environment if you present the stimulus often and strongly enough. It's a very interesting thing. So it's just seeing it here and just seeing how someone can be so cruel. It's just, I am taken aback by it, because I guess someone's hair is one of those very intimate things of, getting your hair cut isn't something that you would expect someone to do other than a hairdresser or other than someone who you're allowing to touch your hair. So when it comes to bullying, like that's a very violating thing to do. And just seeing that it happened to that poor girl, was unfortunate. Like on a point, I'm very happy that she stood up for herself, even though she is still in a place where she can't really do much. At least she has a better mentality about it. And this leads it into the next plot point of Jabami. So Jabami continues giving some characterizations here. Ultimately, you could say that Jabami is a good character. Like, she's good, and that shouldn't really be a question. You could see that she's a good person. And what's really interesting here is just the nuance when it comes to how she screws people over, or who she chooses to screw people over, or just like the whole screwage of people. Because you look at the situation, you see what Jabami's doing. She's goading this girl on to she's pretty much making a bet on this girl. But underneath that, there's this layer of, Jabami supporting her to try and take her life back. Like, Jabami knows people. She understands the dynamics of people. She must have been in an environment where she saw hundreds of examples of different varieties of people. But when you ultimately look at it, Jabami is trying to help this girl come back into her own place. And what I think is the defining thing with Jabami is ultimately, Jabami enjoys taking risks. She enjoys engaging in gambles with other people. But I think it could be fair to say that Jabami doesn't exactly like it when someone's choice is taken away from them. What's the point of gambling if you're not doing it for yourself? What's the point of gambling if you yourself are not the one investing in the risk? If you're the one who's being forced into taking a risk, what's the point? I think that it's that kind of mentality, and I'm pretty sure that Jabami's actions in the episode are good enough to be able to push a viewer towards that point. I don't remember if Jabami said these words directly, but at the end of the day, it's like Jabami condones taking a risk if you yourself made the choice to take a risk. After that point, it's all for the game. Everything that happens, you made the gamble. But if you're just there and you're not all in, you're not there because you want to be there, I think Jabami will take pity on you. Ultimately, Jabami will deal with you if you make the choice to be dealt with. Anyway, yeah, I just think that's a pretty good nuance, because Jabami's going up against these people, and we've seen that Jabami can get pretty dark. We've seen that she can get pretty crazy, but she has her morals, she has her lines, she has lines that she's not going to cross, and that's just something you can respect about a character. Let's see. Anything beyond that I really want to talk about? I guess the secretary's little speech or monologue about the president. Just largely that the president wanted to see what Jabami is doing and that the president thought Jabami is insane, and now the secretary is just wondering about Jabami because Jabami's not doing things for monetary gain. And actually, I think that's a pretty cool idea. Like, let's just talk about the idea in general. Like, when you have a character who doesn't abide by common sense, it gets really dangerous because now you can't control her. Now you can't make predictions based on rational behavior. So I like that that's happening. I like that kind of angle to most characters. I think when a character is doing that and we have a character on the other side who is as competent as the non-logical character and they clash, I just like that kind of back and forth. You know, it's more engaging because it's effectively a competition of people trying to one-up each other. How could, you know, it's just a really engaging thing to watch. Anyway, Kakegurui, episode 5, very fun. Jabami, awesome. Mari got money, and yeah, sorry my phone went off, but yeah, guys, sorry for all the noise in the background. I have a crazy cat here, but yeah, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.